there are certain things in Hollywood where you get a reputation, and the studios. One of the things, they came to me on True Lies, and they were very concerned because it was a big orchestra score, and they were already really concerned about budgetary issues in general. And they also had experienced, I guess, Jim in situations with orchestra scores where he wanted a lot of changes and whatever. So they said, you got to make this work with Jim, and we need to stay on time and on budget on the score of this. And I was like, okay, I'll do my best, you know, I'll do that. And we did it. We did it. We came in, we didn't have to go do, you know, a lot of re-scoring or anything like that, and I made it work. So I think I had a bit of a rep that I was actually one of the quote, young guys who was coming in on time and on budget. And sometimes I wish, in a way, I didn't have that bone in my body, because there may be takes I would have liked to have done another take where the French horn wasn't quite right. And there's certain guys like James Horner who was known, I mean, he would just shut the thing down. He would record till he got it the way that he wanted it, or he would walk, you know. I didn't quite, I was more like, I'm a team player, and I'm kind of out there in my concepts, but I'm a team player, and I'm going to be on time and on budget the best I can, you know. So the studio had a problem with the score. They had a problem with the film in general. They were concerned, I talk about themes, it was an interesting thing. They were concerned that there were certain sequences. This film was directed by someone who hadn't directed a film before, really. They were an artist. I forgot, I'm blanking on the name right now, but a famous artist. And they were concerned that there were these one long montage, really long, that was crucial to the plot, that the audience didn't know what they were looking at half the time in the montage, and they didn't know what they were rooting for, who was where, what was happening. So not only did they come to me because they were already over budget, and they figured, you know, we can trust Brad, because I had to work without direction. There was no director at that point. He was, I don't know if he was officially off the picture, but he wasn't working with me directly. I had a few phone calls with him, but I scored that, and the music head of the studio would come in and check things once in a while and maybe make a comment, but very little. So I was kind of on my own on that, and that was another reason, because I think they figured I could handle that. I had to score that sequence with every old Hollywood trick in the book, in terms of, yay here, that's the hero, this is good, what's happening, uh-oh, you know, I couldn't be this kind of slightly distanced, you know, texture that sometimes we get in scores, which can be considered sophisticated in a way. That this was Mickey Mouse all the way. It was like it was an old animated cartoon or something. I really had to say, oh, that's this guy, he just got hit on the head. You know, it was just, I had to help with the whole geography and the plot of this, I don't know, it was like a 4-minute sequence that was crucial in the film. So it was interesting, because I did see the director at the screening afterwards, and he did say something about cliche, because he was this very cool Soho, New York artist guy, you know. So I took it on the nose a little bit there, because that's what I had to do, and I was like, that's what they wanted at the studio, you know. And it was a little confusing, but you know, you can afford to be minimalistic and not kind of musically demonstrative, or they'd say in acting to an actor who was telegraphing too much the motivation of the scene and not being a real person in a sense. They call it indicating. You're indicating what you feel. Just sit there and feel it, and the camera will get it, right? It's the same with the score. If a film is really, really well done and all the elements are really working, the score can be kind of sophisticated and minimalistic, and just kind of say, okay, we're here, folks, you know, maybe pay attention in some way, but not telling you what to feel. Johnny Mnemonic had some places where it really needed the music to tell you how to feel and what was happening, kind of sort out for you what was happening, what's heroic, what's tragic, what, you know. So the score in that case ends up being more old school Hollywood oh, I know what uh-oh, this is don't go in that basement. The music tells me, don't go, oh, please don't open that door. You know, that's part of the history of scoring, and it still comes up where a scene, maybe one scene in a movie, or maybe a whole movie needs that kind of support from the music. It's kind of fun when you don't have to do that. It's liberating musically to be a little more sophisticated. Johnny Mnemonic was one where maybe you could say my approach was, in a sense, a strategy to, quote, fight, but usually it was quite the opposite. If possible, I would like to meet with the sound effects guys. I mean, I think in Terminator 2 is a wonderful example of you can't tell sometimes what's me and what's the sound effects team. And that's the way it should be. It should be moment by moment, whatever helps you be there. You know, there are moments in True Lies where those Harriers are weird. They look, the Harrier jets that hover, they kind of don't look real in a way. And Jim was really concerned. He said, Brad, the score's going to take second seat here because I really need the audience to viscerally feel that those things are heavy, that are suspended in air. Otherwise they look like they're floating on wires. So there are choices made moment by moment. I think it's, in the best case, it's a collaboration. It's a really good collaboration. In Johnny Mnemonic, again, because I needed to help with the story, and it was a science fiction world, so the sound effects are important to help create the ambiance of that world. So what I was trying to do was find a way to help them live together. And there's some very loud moments where I really, where some of the heroic message needed to be gotten to the audience, or the battliness of it, if you couldn't tell it was really a battle at that moment or whatever. So I actually did a battle of the bands. I had a brass section on the left of the studio and a brass section on the right, because I didn't want to do it electronically because it was a full orchestra score. So that I would take a phrase that I thought was important to the progress of the musical composition, since it was kind of old school, that you needed to follow the musical line. I said, that explosion may blow it out on that moment. So I would repeat the phrase. So we have something in music called digital delay, where you hear, hello, 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 right? So what I did was I literally composed the music, and the brass on the left would go, da 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 da, and right after it on the right would go, da 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 da, you know, so that if the explosion cut 3 of the notes there, you would get the whole phrase on the right. So it was kind of orchestral, acoustic, digital, non-digital. It was non-digital. It was live compositional delay and the layout, and it was so funny because we had teams, and I didn't have time to make T-shirts because the players, this was very weird for them, but we found out that we didn't have a good balance. So we had to switch team members so they would be equally strong, and that was a little hairy politically with the orchestra, like, Bob, second trumpet, okay, we need you over there, and we, you know, until we got, okay, that's good. So they had fun with it.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe to see more retrospectives and commentaries. Also click on the bell to be notified of the latest reviews. If you want access to exclusive videos and to watch my content a few days before it's on YouTube, you can head on over to my Patreon. Thank you very much.